I am Rebecca Lehman, and I am your student's Themes in Lit teacher. That's our sophomore English class for students who possibly need some help with time management or reading skills or writing skills, things along those lines. Upon successful completion of the class, which lasts for a semester, the student will get an English credit and should have met standard or be close to meeting standard on 2 common assessments, just like there were in our global literacies class, and like there will be in most of the English classes, I think all of the English classes actually, at MDI High School. I have been at the high school for 23 years. I've taught for 26 years. And although I've never actually taught themes class, I've taught a wide range of different types of students. And I've actually had a good number of the kids who were in the class last year in Global Lit. So I'm looking forward to that as well. I am always interested in changing things up in my teaching and finding out what works and what works better. And the reason that I'm doing this as a video rather than as a QuickTime movie, rather than as a letter home, is because I'm experimenting with ways to communicate better, both with my students and with their families. And so this is an experiment. This is the second draft. The first one had a really weird noise in the background. And this one does have my dog running around in our yard while I'm making it on Labor Day weekend, so we'll see how it works. But what I'd like to tell you about are some of my expectations, both for the students and for so that the parents will know what the expectations are for this class. The first thing to know about it is that it's largely in a workshop format. I don't expect a lot of work to be done out of school. Students should, and this should be familiar to my students from last year, plan on putting in about half an hour out of class to stay up with the work and to do a good job on the assignment. That could be during a study hall, it could be a special ed supervised study hall, it could be learning center, it could be plain old freshman sophomore study hall, before school, after school, or at home. But generally that amount of time will ensure that a student can do a good job. Some students who use time in class really well may find that they actually don't need to put in that extra time, but I think that if you start thinking about that with your students, if you think about that, that's a really good idea. That's a good approach. Otherwise, my rules and regulations are pretty straightforward. The first one is attendance in class is really important since it is a workshop class. If you're absent a lot, there is going to be makeup work. You can do that with me after school or during my prep period, or you may end up having to do that on your own. But, if you miss class, that's pretty much what's expected, I think. The second thing is to be prepared. If we're reading a book, bring the book. If you need your laptop, you bring your laptop. You need a good attitude. You also can do some things outside of school to be prepared. Make sure you're on time. I think I mentioned that before. But also make sure you've had enough sleep. And another thing that's going to be a big push at school because it's become an issue is make sure your cell phone is turned off and out of sight. I'm just going to have that be my rule. Cell phones or if you have an iTouch or an iPhone or anything along those lines, same thing. I don't want them on your desk. If they start ringing and disturbing class, then we're going to have to get a different rule. But right now, that's going to be the hard and fast rule. I don't want to see them. I don't want to have to deal with them during class. I don't want to have you have to deal with them during class. If there are any emergencies, parents, you can contact the main office and they'll take care of it and contact your student very quickly. The next rule, and this ties into all my other rules as well, is to be respectful. Be respectful of me, be respectful of other students, be respectful of yourself. That goes language, behavior, the whole 9 yards. Not unusual. And another rule that I have is that I don't know if it's a rule or a suggestion, but to be involved. The more involved you are in your own education, the more valuable it can be for you, the more fun it will be, and I think the easier it will be. Ask questions if you don't understand what's going on. Feel free to ask, why are we doing this? How will this benefit me? And we can have some really interesting conversations about that. The last, and I think the most important thing, is to try. That you, I enjoy English. I've spent a lot of my life doing it, teaching it, etc., etc. I don't expect that every one of my students is going to love it, become a kid who reads all the time, etc., and etc. But I do think that students who try are just about guaranteed to benefit, to pass. I don't want to make that guarantee, but if you try hard, it certainly makes that the time you need to put in more worthwhile and more beneficial. And after all, students, you're really the reason that we're doing this. So those are my suggestions. And my last suggestion is that you trust me and believe that I'm here to help you grow, that I'm here, if you're a parent, to help your student grow, and that we all have each other's best interests at heart, especially the students. I think we're fortunate in the school we're in and the administrator. But I think if we keep those suggestions, ideas, rules, and regulations in mind, we should be able to have an official year for everybody. I look forward to it. It's a lovely weekend. We're going to go to the Blue Hill Fair in a little bit, but I am looking forward to having a class full of students so we can start the work. Parents, once you have watched this with your student, I will ask you to sign the paper, and if your kid forgot to bring home the paper, sign a paper, just saying we sat down and we watched that wonderful top 10 video of Miss Lehman in her backyard. It's going to be about 8 minutes long, so maybe that's an even wash from having to read a paper that's written out saying my rules and regulations. But if you could sign it and add anything you think I should know, if you can add some contact information, that would be fantastic, so we can talk if we need to. But I really am looking forward to this year and working with your students, or students working with you. Thanks a lot, and I hope to see